welcome. I'm Jessie Walters from Charles Rutenberg. I'm here today with Delynn Gaston from the mortgage firm. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we're talking about mortgages, and we're just talking about basically what's going on in the real estate market.
Crazy market that we're in right now.
I know. So there's been some changes, and we were just talking about that off air. The changes have been that, like for me, when I see interest rates go up, it means, like we were just saying, it means a couple different things,
So as the interest rates go, a lot of pre-approval. So it's been so difficult lately, right? Over the last several years, it's been so not years, over the last 2 years, because of the rising housing prices and the feeding frenzy, so to speak, that has been going on down in Florida with the influx of a lot of cash and a lot of people moving down here, which I get. I love it down here. But it's obviously put a crimp in. There's the supply and demand is way out of whack. In addition to that, what's been going on lately is the mortgage interest rates are going up. So, and we were just chatting about this.
Yeah.
Just between last, say, November, December,
right, 2021.
Interest rates were in the, let's say, low to mid threes.
Yeah.
Right. And to today, just a few months later, the interest rates are in the low to mid fours.
Yeah.
So 1% in an interest rate equates to $40,000 in buying power that people just lost because of the rise of interest rates.
Right.
So, we had all of these people, I don't know about you, but I have a ton of people who are pre-approved last year. In the fall, they could buy, $350,000. Well, guess what? They can now only buy $310,000.
Yeah, isn't that? Yeah, so unless they have cash or something to make up, we've got to adjust all the searches for them, and they got to
So
come
I'm
down.
updating all my pre-approvals now because it has absolutely changed what people can qualify for, and it's sad, and I feel bad for them because with the prices of houses continuing to go up, now that $350,000 that I had qualified them for in the fall, that same house is now $400,000.
Yeah, I know.
And their buying power went down to $310,000.
Exactly, and I did because people would say, I did a show on that, and it was, basically the people saying like, oh, the house that's 200 now, or 200 then is now 400, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and now it's 400, and but I'm paying 400, but my interest rates, but at the time it was like your interest rates, you're paying 400, but your interest rates are only the twos.
Right.
So it's like your payment's almost the same.
Right.
But now we have this weird thing about to happen, which is going to be that $400,000 house is still 400, 410, and your interest rates are creeping up. So your payments, like you're saying, it's not like a 200,000 at 10%.
Right.
And compared to 400,000 at 2%,
It's going to be felt.
Yeah.
It is absolutely going to be felt. Just like we were talking earlier about gas prices.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's really going to start.
Yeah.
It's just sad what's going on.
I know, and for all these new realtors, because I have some that I mentor and stuff, they're like, we show up and there's 10, 15 people at the house, and then of course they drove there. You know what I mean? And then they paid the high gas prices.
Right.
I feel so bad. I mean, I'm doing it too, but then I feel like I've been around the the real estate block. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like, I'll go with the, you know what I mean? I'll just go with the flow. I'll just go with the flow. But I showed up on Sunday because you think, well, Sunday, a lot of people won't be going out on a Sunday. I was out Sunday, and actually I was in Newport Richey near Main Street. And as I was there was a realtor there when I got there. She was doing a virtual tour for her out-of-state purchaser. Then my customers showed up. They're just from the other coast, and they're relocating for jobs. And then another couple showed up, and then another. And I was like, should I video this and put this on Facebook? But it's like frustrating, and it deters people from wanting to purchase because they're not maybe up for the fight. And a lot of people say, well, we'll just wait a year or two. But then as we're waiting, things are literally changing.
Right. And that is exactly my point. When we started talking off air, we started saying, I don't want to be negative. But it's crazy right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be realistic. Yeah.
Just being realistic. So with what's going on because of the rising home prices that are not going down, people are saying, well, I'm going to wait. For what?
Yeah.
They're going up. And your buying power
6 to 8%, please.
Your buying power is going down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so at Halloween time I did the take, the crystal ball, and you can't really tell what's going on, but as soon as they say on the news, hey, we're raising interest rates, I mean, there's no, that's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? You wake up tomorrow, we're going to raise interest rates, so probably start that plan to, if you're at 500,000 and you're now at 450, maybe, make that plan in the next couple of months, because I think they projected, which they were wrong last year, but they projected 3 interest rate increases throughout 2022 as a projection.
Right.
So we just got one,
So, right. we knew, we knew this was, we knew this was coming.
Yeah.
And when they raised the interest rates, they raised them 0.25%, and this is, keep in mind, this is the Fed funds rate. So this is not mortgage rates that went up 0.25%. This is the Fed funds rate, the federal funds rates. So that's kind of like sets the rates for all of the financial transactions, so to speak, in the country. So, but with that being said, and with that going up, what they're trying to do right now, and one of the reasons for raising that is because they have to get inflation under control.
Right.
Because inflation is what's really hurting right now. Now, last year we did not have, so the fact that they anticipated, because they were anticipating that we were going to, with all of the free money, so to speak, that was going out. They were anticipating we were going to have some issues with that. Well, those didn't come to fruition, but now we're starting to feel the pains of those things. With inflation going up, they need to keep inflation in control, and the only way to do that is to raise interest rates.
Right.
So that's why it's happening this year.
Yeah, and it's almost like they're
expecting it every quarter this year.
Right. So when we were slow, they lowered the interest rates to boost the economy.
Correct.
And now the economy is thriving, believe it or not. When you see gas prices, people are like, is the economy, or what's about to happen? And literally, as you're watching the shows, they just show $100 bills being printed. Like, I wish I had this machine at my house, but anyway.
I know.
So they lower the interest rates to stimulate the economy. The economy's going great, but now it's full force so fast that they have to raise the interest rates. So one of my customers asked me, we were at work sitting around and we want to know who controls the Fed. Like, I think they think, they're like, who's the Fed? I'm like, well, the word Fed should be your first hit. Federal government, you know what I mean? Not the realtors, not the, not the mortgage people, so they were like, oh yeah, that makes sense, So it was funny because they were kind of asking me, like, why are interest rates going up? And I'm like, believe it or not, it's to slow things down,
Exactly.
Which, on the purchases, I talked to a title company agent. I won't disclose exactly who, but they had pulled all the stats in Pasco County, and the sales were slower this month than last month and prior months and stuff like that. So it could be a couple different things, as far as there's less, it's usually just one thing, less, there's not enough inventory, And so like in new home purchases, they usually, they have their own title company. So, it's not like a Newport Richie. Like a lot of times the new construction are like, I got to drive to Tampa for the closings and stuff like that,
Right.
But, so they had said it kind of slowed down. So I'm wondering, again, we don't have a crystal ball. So I don't know exactly what will happen in the next couple of months as it starts to creep up, if it'll slow even more. But saying it slowed as far as closings doesn't mean that the market has slowed, because people are still, we're running after houses. We're trying to get there first. We're trying to beat, we are beating 17, 15 offers, 5 offers.
And then that's good for me to hear too, because I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
I, for a year now, have been saying I'm really hoping the market stabilizes.
Yeah.
Just stabilize it instead of having, 20 offers on one house that you're fighting for.
We're still doing that.
You're still doing that. I was really so hoping that maybe it was down to 8 offers instead of 20.
It depends. It depends on which county you're in and how sought after the area is. So if I'm in East Lake, Palm Harbor, the overbidding is going to be more, and then that actual home, there's going to be more bids. So say Pasco, you're going to overbid. I don't know, the average is like 10,000 over for me, but let's say you're bidding 5, 10, 15, where as if you go to Pinellas County, they're going to bid 40,000. It just depends on, you're going to have 15 and then there's going to bid 30,000, 40,000 over. And so we were talking about that the other day, and the key thing is if you are overbidding is to have that extra cash, because we were talking about appraisals, and actually we need to talk about that too, about the new, but as far as when you're overbidding or you're in that bidding war, to have that cash, don't have your mortgage approved for that, because it's going to be disappointing. If you overbid and the realtor has it at 400,000 and you overbid to 430 and you say that's okay because I'm approved for 450, that's not necessarily how it works. You're going to have there's going to be a gap there for that appraisal. If you started at 400, the appraiser can literally see that too. Probably going to appraise for 400, and then you've got this big gap now, and you overbid 30,000, so the seller went with you because you're willing to pay 430, and now everybody's got to back up.
Right.
And sellers are not backing up right now. Sellers are saying, well, I had 10 offers, especially in Pinellas County.
So they're taking the next offer.
Yeah, they're like, well, if you don't want the property, you have till this time today. Let me know. So it's a little frustrating, but if you're a good realtor, you tell your clients ahead of time. So that's what's going to be key, is to actually tell them. If you overbid, you have to have cash.
Right, and I think that's where a lot of people are at, especially, are you still seeing a lot of I'm going to start interviewing now. Are you seeing a lot of out-of-state cash still coming in?
Yeah, I just had one, Kentucky, we beat 14 offers. So, yeah. And you know what, at the escalation forms?
Yes.
Okay, so I explained to my people who watch and my realtors. So escalation clauses are to say, I'll beat your offer by up to this point.
Right.
So if the house is 400, I say, I have this escalation clause. I'm going to beat your offer up to 440 by $500 each. So, but my contract's 600 or 400. Sorry, 400. I'm going to beat it up to this 460, 440. But it's on this piece of paper, and then that client has to then show you proof that here's your...
They can go that high.
Yeah, here's your 410, and you beat it, and it's 410, 500, or whatever you said you beat it by. So what I did was, because it was cash, I'm like, we're already ahead because we got cash, but they have 3 other cash buyers out of all these contracts that came in. So I took the escalation clause, and I changed it a little bit. I changed it to escalation clause for cash purchases only. No conventional, no FHA. We're only competing with cash. So you bring me an offer for us to beat, it's got to be cash. And I explained it to him, and I made my little only asterisks, and I became which I'm not an attorney, but I play one on this show. I'm just kidding. But I put it on there, and I'm like, I don't know if this is going to fly. I've never done this before, but we changed the escalation clause a little bit, and we initialed it, and we had them initial it. And it worked, and so that's how we did it. We beat only cash offers, because you always have some crazy person who doesn't, maybe their realtor's new, maybe they don't understand, but they throw these crazy offers in, and they don't have the cash difference, and they're not cash.
How could they do that?
Yeah, I just don't think that they because
what were they going to do if they get accepted?
Yeah, I just don't think that they're being educated, and it's not their fault. You know what I mean? Because I think it's the realtors are new, and some of them, just came into the market because you watch television and stuff, and you see, oh wow, right now is a good time to make money, and so they get thrown in, and they don't have a lot of training, and they just say, oh yeah, we'll beat that, but they don't really understand what's going on. They become very frustrated and stuff too.
Right.
So it's a different, when I go to show houses and stuff. When all the different realtors, when you see them, you're like, hey, how are you? Because you're friends with most of them. There's a lot of new realtors now, and they're kind of not as friendly because, we're in competition together, and we're going to be outbidding each other. And it's a different kind of a vibe, and the customers are
so that's
tense.
Changed.
Yeah, buyers are tense and giving each other the looks as they're walking in, and stuff like that. And of course, I'm still myself. So I'm like, hey, how are you guys doing? Yeah, Good luck. Have a nice day. Blah blah blah. So it's like, don't change your demeanor and your for the competition we're in. Think of it more as you still have to love the house. Still, you're still representing your buyer, and when you go out and you have a good attitude. And then if it doesn't work out, that buyer's going to stick with you. If you turn it into, a stressful situation every time they go out, and your negative energy basically, or your vibe is kind of transferring to your buyer, if it turns into, that type of situation where you're walking in and everybody's, there's a line,
I know.
And they're and then my customers are kind of depressed. They're like, are all these people here
to see this house?
No, there's a garage sale down the road. Yeah, they're just standing here because.
It is.
Yeah. So that was last Sunday.
Still going on.
Last Sunday, yeah. It's funny because it was in off of Main Street, Newport Richie, like I said, in Oldfield. That is a little neighborhood there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's as it had started, I had showed 2 houses down. And we, it was the same thing. It had just, when it had just started, the bidding wars had just started, and I could see the new people in that house, We won that one, but there was a electrical easement across the back. My people wanted to put a pool in. So I remember that house well, and I was like, I remember all the cars just, lined up here, and here we are, 2 houses down, all lined up, same, so.
Right.
But yeah, so
what are you finding are winning the bids? Like when because you do both listing and buyers.
Yeah.
And so when you're the listing agent, what kind of offers, what makes you say no,
Yeah.
or when you're educating your sellers?
So closing costs, they go, so if you need closing costs to close your loan right now,
Right.
you're last unless somehow, it's a unique property. It came back on the market. It had a sinkhole, and there's cosmetic issues with it that were not repaired. There's something special about it, and they're gonna make that work with you with the closing costs, and you're the only buyer. But if right now closing costs is the back of the line, and always check every contract, because there's a couple places they can fit those fees in, and you as a selling agent needs to make sure that that's not in there, because you can see a really nice front page, and then when you get into that contract, there's, we want the, whatever it is, we want the jacuzzi in the back, we want the piano, we want to make sure that all the furniture, there's other places in here, make sure that it's the cleanest contract. So, who's the lender? Is it a good lender? There's a couple lenders that are major banks and that are bad lenders, even though they're major banks. So, and I don't just push them aside if, I'll try to say, well, can you call Delynn, the mortgage firm? There's a plug for you.
Yes.
And to try to get them pre-qualified a different direction. There you are.
Ta-da!
Yeah. To get you pre-qualified a different direction. So if you're not with a lender, maybe your realtor's new, maybe your realtor has never had a problem with them. Maybe just other realtors have,
Right. So you're also,
checking
lenders, not only lenders, you're checking the agent that is bringing you these buyers. Is this someone who's experienced or somebody who, reputation-wise?
Right.
So it's not always the best price. Program type, I would imagine, FHA, VA.
Yeah.
And I know that this is a kind of a
cutthroat market,
and a soft spot in my heart because with the people who are being cut out.
So we'll take a quick break, but I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you the exact order I go in, and then some tips if you do have a VA buyer too. So everybody hold tight just for a second. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. I'm Jessie Walters with Charles Rutenberg. We're here today with Delynn Gaston from the mortgage firm. We're talking about mortgages and interest rates. It's very interesting. So I was saying, I know that it's hard right now, especially when you have a VA buyer, and they've done everything for our country, and here they are, and people are like, okay, we've got cash is first, conventional second, VA and FHA kind of are here, third place. And so I was trying to tell just different advice on how to make your VA as strong as your conventional. And the first thing I want to say is that love letter, and you have to put it. And it can't be specific now because there's lawsuits with the love letters. And what's a love letter? It's telling your seller's agent how great you love the house. And you can't say, you have to keep it general. You can't be because of all the different prejudice now. So you want to keep that vague, but basically just saying, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I love your house, and I served your country, and I want to live here, something to that extent.
Okay.
So 'cause some people now,
And maybe something about the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Can you say something like, it's near my parents or anything like that or something?
You can't. Well, so I just had one, and I said. So he asked me, well, what is a letter? So I wrote. I said, I'll give you an example. Hi, my name is so and so and so and so. We love your house. We can see us living there. We can see us growing old there. It's a beautiful location, and I wish you consider our offer. We'll love it as much as you. It's very general. It's very vague, and make sure you put the address in so it doesn't look like you're just trying to bid on everything. You have this generic letter sending it over, and then and he wasn't VA. He was just a conventional buyer. So that's my general. And then people if they live in the home, they'll appreciate those letters. If they are an investor, I would say, unfortunately, that they don't waste your time with the, you know what I mean, unless somehow they have some type of like softness in their heart. But usually if it's a homeowner that will work with, because they don't want to see you go to an investor. They don't want to see you rent it out. They want another home. They raise, or another family, they raise their family there. They want you to, raise your family or to live there, or, so you can get, they'll say, oh, well, this is a couple thousand more, but, I really like these people. See if they'll come up. Maybe they'll negotiate. The other thing is, as a VA buyer, it's zero down. So I tell my VA people, it's zero down, but why don't we put $5,000 down? Why don't we put the escalation clause? Why don't we do the gaps if you have cash? If you don't have cash, we can't do that. But if we have cash, your loan 0% down. Put that big down payment down. Put some money down on it, or let's put an escalation clause. Let's waive appraisal. Let's do something. You know? So it depends on how much you love the house. So it's like one of those things. Like if you can't live with this house, I'll tell you how to get this house. But if you're like, it's okay.
Right.
But so when you have
Are people desperate out there right now and just offering on anything, even though it might be, I can live with it, you know?
Well, so for instance, I had one out there, the husband says, I don't know, I've seen some cracks on the, around the base of the house. And the wife said, I could see myself living here. I'm so sick of looking. Can we just get this one? And I don't really like it that much. And she's just ready to move in. She goes, I could just move into here.
She's just tired of looking.
Yeah.
And that's sad. That's sad.
It is.
Especially when it's the biggest purchase of their life, right?
Yeah, and it's not like it. So I had one I just sold this week, and her couldn't find anything, and her lease is up, I think the 15th of March. So she closed on Tuesday. So on March 1st, so now she can, can move in and stuff. And it's so funny because she said, I might be calling you. And I was like, why? To sell. And I'm like, because we got it. We outbid everybody. We won it. She bought it. And now she's like, I don't really know if I like it. And I'm like, I was like, don't tell me that. I mean, of course I'm going to sell it for you. But I mean, I want this to be, I want you to be like, I can't believe we won. And so exciting, She was like, oh, wow, we won. And I'm like, is that good? Are you happy we won? Yeah. So we might have a new listing soon. No, I'm kidding.
Yay, tell me.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I have seen is, and I know this isn't mortgages now, we're all talking about the market, and how we can be competitive in this market.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've seen happening, like over in the Orlando area, is the buyers are offering to pay the seller's closing costs.
Yeah.
Have you seen that happening here?
What? One of my sellers asked me if they could do that, and I said, we're not seeing that that much right now, but I don't think, it depends on which price range you're into, and then how much closing costs. So like, in other words, are they paying the commissions, the buyers, or are they paying, because closing costs, you're going to pay my closing costs, there's title, there's, there's mortgage. I mean, how?
I think those are the ones that they're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think they're talking about the.
Yeah, not the commissions.
Right.
Because, so when I do a search, and I say, I'll pay your closing costs, there's estoppels for the HOAs.
Right.
So I saw a estoppel yesterday, $500 when they sent it over. Now, if you have two of those, that's $1,000. So as a buyer's agent, you're probably like, yeah, it's your money. I'll write it up. You're going to pay their closing costs. Nothing to do with me, but make sure you itemize, or you have that wrote out of what closing costs are, because closing costs can be, closing costs? It could be a whole, like a bigger area than, gray area.
Right.
So you don't want to get yourself in some type of legal mess doing that, but
maybe like the escalation clause put up to,
put a little asterisk and
yeah, buyer will pay seller's closing costs up to $5,000.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Put
like
a cap on it.
Right, like a closing. Yeah, that's a good idea. So that's but I just had one. They're in Tampa, and they asked me about that, and they had seen it, and I said I'm not seeing that a lot right now, but we can request that.
It's happening a lot over in Orlando.
Yeah, so they're like, I don't know if they have friends there, but they're like, can we look in Orlando? Sure.
Oh my gosh, tell them. Oh, that market is crazy on fire right now.
Yeah, it is nuts. I'm getting some listings. It's weird because my office is Clearwater, so I have Pinellas, I have Hillsborough, Pasco, Hernando, but I'm going to Ocala. I'm going to.
So you're starting to expand further out because there's no houses here.
Yeah.
Right?
So I have customers that come to me and they say, well, and referrals to. I've got a. I think is it Elfers? Well, no, it's near Ocala, Inglewood. So I'm there driving to Inglewood because she was a referral, and she was like she inherited this place, and she's like, she's younger, and she was like, I really just want someone that I can trust, and they told me 2 realtors, but she was smart enough to say, I'm going to interview them, and we talked to the phone. I got my interview, and I say, no worries, because I was thinking, I don't want to drive all the way there. No, I'm just kidding. But I was like, no worries if you don't want to use me, but. And then she called me back and congratulated me that I got the job. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Thank you so much. But so I'm driving out there, and that's 2 hours, out there, and hour and a half there. And but you do for different clients, you have to go over, and I really don't mind driving there. And then I got another one there, so I was like, oh, this is my calling. I got to go here now, And and then I have one listing coming. I might as well just if anyone's looking, I have one coming in Tampa. I got one in Spring Hill, 2.38 acres. You can bring your horses, and I got one in River Ridge coming up with the pool, 375 to 400 in River Ridge, 2.38 acres, has like a tile roof. It's a beautiful house. That
What's
one's
your
like
price estimates on these?
450 to 500. I have to talk to the clients because they haven't narrowed down the prices yet. As I'm waiting to sell, the prices are literally going up.
I know.
So they say, well, can't you tell me your price? And I say, I can tell you price now, but when we list it, I'm going to tell you another price, So, and every once in a while you do have a customer too who sells to, I can't say the names of the places, but they buy them for cash, and they come in, and those kind of devalue the neighborhoods too. So when they come in, they give a price, and then they ask for more off because of repairs and stuff like that. So people are happy because they're like a 30-day close, and they're giving me cash, and I don't have to list it on the market, but it's literally costing you, the average is between 20 to 40,000 on those, So, but they devalue the neighborhood. So your neighbors get mad because the prices go down, especially if you've had 2 of those, which I almost said the name. Especially if you had 2 of those, But yeah, so, but it's just a funny market,
It is. So the other thing that I'm seeing come through on contracts too, from the lender's standpoint, and this can be risky, but is the appraisals. So when we're running, somebody through the AUS, the automated underwriting system through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, it'll tell us if we're waiving the appraisals or not.
Right.
And sometimes that happens. I completely think that has a lot to do with the zip code.
Right.
To be perfectly honest with you, it's not everybody. We've had clients who, they're putting 50% down. You'd think, we'll get an appraisal waiver on that. Nope.
Huh.
Nope.
Yeah, I haven't seen a rhyme or reason. I wondered that, which.
So now the newest thing that's coming out, so Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have sat there and said, which by the way is conventional. I always tell people that because they don't know.
They're like, is that FHA? What is that?
Right.
It's
well,
like
they say, no, we're not going Fannie Mae, we're going conventional. Same thing.
Yeah.
That is it. But anyway, is virtual appraisals.
Yeah,
virtual
tell us about
appraisals
that.
is the next thing to help. So right now the requirements to become an appraiser have really gone up. There's a lot more to it. So you can't just, oh, I'm going to be an appraiser, and tomorrow you take, you sit for a certification or something and boom, you're an appraiser. No, you have a 2-year apprenticeship that you have to do and such
Oh,
before.
okay.
So there's a lot that has gone into it, and you have to have a degree. So there's a lot that goes into becoming an appraiser. So right now, as a country, we are really hurting as far as appraisers go, qualified appraisers. So, which is one of the other reasons that things are taking so much longer,
yeah.
things like that, and with the prices going up by the minute. Anyway, so Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac sat down and said, okay, what can we do to help this? What can we do with this kind of a situation? Because I know some of the larger banks, again, I know we can't say the names or whatever, but they're taking like 3 months, 2 to 3 months to get a file through.
Right.
And sellers don't want to wait for that. That's why
Yeah.
they're buying. That's why they're taking the cash offers, even if they're
Right.
less than the,
Yeah.
because it's fast and it's now.
Yeah.
Well, so how can we speed up the mortgage process? Well, one of the things that takes the longest time for any lender is the appraisal. We don't know how long the appraisers are going to take. Appraisals are not in our control.
Right.
We have to go through what's called an AMC, appraisal management company, third party. They order the appraisal.
Yeah.
So because there was
It's
too much fraud back
That's
when.
like the fishbowl. I like to explain it to my customer like this. So you're going to order it, and then they're going to do the fishbowl, and this is your appraiser. We don't know them. We're not allowed to
Right.
contact them. You're not allowed to contact them. They contact me
Correct.
just to get in the house, and then they want me gone,
Correct.
And then my customers say, well, did you talk to them? Did you hang out with them? Did you tell them our extra stuff? And I'm like, the best thing to do is to leave a little list in your house of any upgrades, And don't get yourself in trouble if you didn't pull a permit for your AC. Don't put it on your list. You know what I mean? That's another thing. I'm like, so I mean, you want to disclose that, but the appraiser doesn't want to see you have like an illegal air conditioning unit. It's a whole nother, But you put like, I have granite in here. I have the,
right.
I have this.
Right. And in 2018, I redid the kitchen. Granite countertops, blah blah.
Right.
The age of the upgrade makes a big difference too.
I had one, the pool, they put a receipt on the counter, $80,000 receipt. And it's so, well, it's sad because they didn't expect to move, but what's more sad is that they thought the appraiser would be like, oh, well, my house is worth, $450. I got this $80,000 pool. It's going to appraise out for like $530. And I'm like, that's not how that works. Like, I honestly don't even think the appraiser walks back there in my world. They just go, pull 20,000. Is there some pavers back there? 22. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, it's always like
Is it
20.
caged in?
Yeah. Here's an extra 1,000. But meanwhile, my customers are like, they only gave us 20 for the pool. And I'm like, that's the average, And it's funny because
When
everything.
you can't even come close to putting a pool in for
Yeah.
$20,000, right?
I know. I see the pool permits, how much they are. Like I think the least expensive one I've seen lately has been like 56,000. It's crazy. Fiberglass pool, 56,000. I'm like, wow. Yeah. So it is crazy. But yeah, that's so they're going to do a virtual appraisal.
So now they're going to do it, right, so now they're going to do a virtual appraisal. So hopefully that will speed things up so that the appraiser doesn't have to drive 2 hours to Inglewood.
Yeah.
Like you were saying.
That's going to be cash only. I'm just kidding.
But hopefully it'll move things a little bit quicker. So they're going to, so much is online these days. You can get pretty much anything online these days, right? So the appraiser can see the entire house. There's virtual walkthroughs you can do online these days. So the appraiser can see the whole house, and then they're going to call you, the listing agent, and they're going to just confirm things. Is this bedroom here? Is this still a bedroom here? For what you're putting in on the listing sheet, and any upgrades that have been done, and any new things or whatever. They can see the granite countertops, but you're going to tell them those were just done in 2020.
Right.
That kind of a thing. So then they'll be able to do the appraisal based on that, and that's what they're going to do, and that should move things a lot faster.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah. So, and as we were talking to, a lot of, when you were talking about your VA buyer, I had I always say totally off subject, but I had one that in downtown Newport Richey, and it was so I showed the house, and we were going to put a good offer on conventional, and it was an investment company, and I called them and said, hey, we're sending an offer, and they said, I literally just drove out from there and they said, no, that's okay. We got a cash offer. And I was like, so my thing is, and as a seller's agent, I always say, now we got this conventional offer. They're putting all, if you're putting $100,000 down, you're head to head with cash, but this one's cash. And if the cash is the same amount, then go ahead and take the cash. But if this one's like 10 or 20,000 more, wouldn't you wait an extra 2 weeks to get 10 or 20,000?
Right.
Like, wouldn't you just wait that time? And I know, and they say,
because you're right, it's not much longer than 2 weeks.
So, because it still takes them cash, still takes you 14 days to close.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you for 30 for my conventional mortgage, and my conventional mortgage, we're going to put down, 60, 100,000. So the appraisal's not going to be an issue. So, so then you get to the point where, well, the only issue I'm going to have is a home inspection. That's going to be my only contingency. Well, your cash buyer is going to have a home inspection period too. So,
right.
So I mean, that's just a tip for sellers. Just because it's cash doesn't mean that you can't wait that extra time. If your conventional, buyers are super strong too, and you make that extra 10, 20,000, or you're more, depending, because I think the cash gets them like. They said cash, cash is king. Cash.
Right.
But yeah, we didn't get to even put an offer in for the.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. So as I drove
horrible.
out, yeah, and I was thinking, should I brought my computer to write it up right then? But it was already gone. I was in the car like 5 minutes. Nope, we already signed. I was like,
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but you just have to keep, staying focused, determined, in the market. Just don't give up. Just keep putting those. I have an investor, and he tells me just keep throwing mud. Keep throwing mud. Mud will stick eventually. So that's pretty much what the most professional thing to say to my clients. We're going to keep throwing mud. I'm from Florida. We're going to find your Florida home. So you guys sit tight just for a second. We're going to talk about throwing more mud when we get back. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. I'm Jessie Walters with Charles Rutenberg and Delynn Gaston. We're talking about basically mortgages and how to buy some houses, and we're just talking on the break.
Can and can't do.
Yeah, the do's and the do nots. And we were just talking about condos on the break, and so basically for me, single family homes, they sell first, and you can kind of tell the economy by single family homes, and then
is that the most demand you're seeing right
Yeah.
now out there is for a single family dwelling?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's changed because of COVID? I used to think, sheltering in place, and people kind of wanted their own place to shelter in, and they don't want anybody neighbors near them.
Well, because it goes just like I want to, like the most popular is a block home, because we have wind and hurricanes, and then I'll say we'll be showing a house, and then it'll be a slab with the wood home, depending on how old it is, and they'll say, well, what about termites? And if it has termite treatment, then they're fine. So it like a single family detached, but then when it switches, so that's the most in demand. And then we were talking about like how I can tell the economy is good, kind of goes in from single family to townhouses to condos to land, and then to commercial, land and commercial at the same time. So it can kind of, when people start saying like, oh, do you know of any lots for sale? It means that all this other stuff for me is booming, and it's kind of that way. So we were talking about if there's not a single family home for sale, what about a townhouse or a condo? Mm-hmm. And then we were stating, like basically you were seeing a lot of condo.
So I'm seeing in my world, I'm seeing a lot more condos and a lot more manufactured homes.
Yeah.
Because the availability of the single family dwellings have really diminished. There's not a lot of choices out there for that right now. So a lot of people are turning to condos. So some of the things. Now, sadly, a lot of people remember several months ago down in South Florida in the Miami area, an entire condo complex sadly just fell, just completely fell. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, Federal National Mortgage Association, they have really taken a look at the condos and the buildings and things like that. Just like anything else, just like us, we get old, right? I'm originally from the Northeast. Everything up there is like 1700s. We call it charm, but 1700s, the buildings start to take a lot of wear and tear, and it's been around for a while. Well, same thing down here, Florida's newer, but still, buildings that were built a number of years ago, condo complexes that were built a number of years ago. So, depending upon how many stories it is and such, anything more than 3 stories, they've just made some changes. It used to be that it could be 40 years that they would need it re-inspected structurally every 40 years and 10 years thereafter. Well, they've just lowered lowered that now to every 30 years.
Gotcha.
It has to be re-inspected, and every 10 years thereafter. So when it first turns 30, and then every 10 years thereafter.
Just like the human body, after 30, you need to get yourself inspected.
Right, you do. You're absolutely no,
true.
and we laugh about it, but that's exactly
true.
what it is because
Yeah.
things start falling apart. We all know that, right?
Get your
You hit
mammograms at 40. Yeah, exactly.
I know, you hit 30 and everything falls apart. And you're like, what? You know. And then, in Florida, with the buildings, if the building is within 3 miles of the coast, any coast, and we are on a peninsula here, then that's been lowered to 25 years. So when that building reaches 25 years old and every 10 years
I feel like
thereafter.
everything is 15 minutes from the beach. That's how I gauge Florida. Where's that 15 minutes from that beach? 15 minutes from that beach, 15 minutes from that beach, you know. But I mean, I guess as a realtor.
And where we are, we're on the coast over here.
Yeah. I think it's like peace of mind, though, to know your customer is getting a nice, I mean, not a nice home, but a home that's structurally, you know what I mean, that has, been checked. So you can have peace of mind and you can know that, you know, they're looking out for you too, the actual.
Exactly. You know, I had a condo just recently, quick story. I had a buyer or a client who wanted to buy a condo. She was heartbroken because she was perfect, mind you. She was golden, and it was a beautiful little condo, beautiful complex in Tampa. And when we got the condo questionnaire back, apparently they were in litigation with the builder, and they kept the litigation open. Many years ago it was, like in 2005 or something, but they kept it open because in the parking garage they saw some cracks.
Oh.
So even though there was nothing wrong with the condo itself, but it was the parking garage.
Oh, gosh.
We can't do that. And I said to her, you don't want to buy that, hon. What if you're going out to your car and the whole thing collapses?
Oh, gosh.
Right? You know, you just...
It's hard to talk about stuff like that with people, you know, and I don't think because you're so excited about your new place, you don't think of all the, Like
I said, she was heartbroken.
The one, the listing I'm getting, it should be next week, Tampa Palms. It's a condo, but it's first floor, but it's still a condo. So I'll be talking to you about that. Oh, and they're not that old, like you said. That's over by Bears.
Okay.
So right across, so there's a Home Depot there. Right across from there, Tampa Palms. I want to say, is it Carrington?
But people need to keep those kinds of things in mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
All buildings age.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's good that there's regulations in place, you know, and that they upped them, though. I feel like that's, I mean, because you discover something where maybe, you know, if that would have been, I mean, you can't do shoulda, woulda, coulda, but if that would have been in place in Miami, maybe someone would have had a heads up on that too. So that's good. And so I know a lot of them, it's a condo with the FHA, the lists and all that stuff. There was a change on that too, right?
In the
they had to be on the approved lists.
Yes.
Okay.
So they do still have to be on it. Well, they don't necessarily have to be on an approved list anymore. We can get them on an approved list.
Okay.
So as long as they meet certain criteria, and that's the other thing. So good to know. So up front, if you're going to be listing a condo, condo docs, have to get the condo docs, get a name and the real good contact person because we have to get that condo questionnaire filled out right away.
Okay.
And some management companies, I hate to say this, some management companies, they charge a fortune just to fill out this form. You know, they used to do them for free, and I get that, you know, it takes time to do it. They have to look up the E&O insurance, they have to look up the budget, they have to, you know, get copies of this stuff for the lender to be able to approve the condo.
I know it sounds bad, but I mean, a couple of my sellers have been totally shocked with that, and they're like, well, this isn't even for me. It's for my buyer.
Right.
So I literally, at one point, I just got my credit card out and paid for the last one because I'm like, it's not what I want to do, but it's an expense I can write off, and we can't sit here and wait for everybody to argue who's.
I know.
You know
who's
what I mean?
going to pay for it. I know.
Whose fault it is, because if I wasn't selling, I never would have had to look any of this up. So it's the buyers. The buyer says, well, the seller should be providing this for me. So and then they're just like, well, you're the realtor. And I'm like, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, what I do. Yeah, so if that was, I want to say that was, I forgot the name, which condo, but I drove there and signed the forms and all that stuff. And it was in West Shore, the actual, But yeah, it's frustrating, but we got it done just because the more time you spend trying to get one form at the end of the day, it literally costs you money as a realtor if you lose your buyer and seller, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because everybody's treading water, you know?
And the thing is, things change.
Yeah.
So sometimes people, when they first bought it, they may have paid cash.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to go through any of the lending process and getting the
Right.
condo approved. Or they bought it 10 years ago.
Right.
The world's changed in the lending world in the
Yeah,
last 10
true.
years.
Yeah.
Guidelines and things like that change all the time. So things are definitely different now. And yeah, I can imagine some of the conversations
Yeah.
listing agents have with the sellers.
Yeah, I'm like, please pay for this.
I know.
Yeah, as long as I always say if it does come out of your pocket, it's good. I want to say what karma or good vibes or good, just you're being a good person and making it happen for everybody,
Right.
So you have to give sometimes to get back. But I mean, and I say that, and then sometimes it's frustrating where you're like, oh, I can't believe I'm, but it all works out in the wash, normally, it's the same
does.
thing with the photographers, as a realtor. It's better to pay for a photographer. I have the cameras and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to get the person, get it done.
And the funny thing, I just saw something on Facebook or something like that, whatever it was. I saw somebody was selling their home, and I don't know, and I think it had an agent with it, but in the pictures, looking through the pictures.
Oh no, there's a person in there.
In the bathroom mirror, there's the person with her cell phone. I don't know if it was the agent or what, but there she is like this in the bathroom mirror, taking a picture of the bathroom.
There's a couple of things. So that's one of those. Don't get me started. But you're not allowed to have people's kids. So if there's a wall of pictures and there's kids, you're allowed to, but it's best interest not to.
Right.
And then if I had one. Last month, and my seller, she's a photographer, but she took pictures, and she's cute, and she's, and so nothing's wrong with this picture, but she's in the middle of it, and I said, I can't have the pictures like that. I appreciate it because you're saving me money in photographer, but I had to send the photographer out there because, and you can't have your hand with your arm with your cell phone, which is probably better than your whole, which she looks great, but I was like, you look great in these pictures, but I can't put them on the internet. You're gonna have a bunch of creepy people calling you up.
I know.
My one of the buy owners, he contacted me and he said, you want to buy my house and this and that, and I said, well, I'll take a look. I'd love to list it for you. No, do you have investors? I want an investor to buy it. So, funny story. I won't mention any names or anything because I don't want to kill me, but he took a picture with no shirt on.
Oh my.
So of course, we're from Florida. They're Southern boys with their jeans on and their belts. And he's in the picture and he looks like he'll kill you and everything. So he's not going to get the wrong type of clientele. But I was thinking, probably not going to get any clientele, I was like, probably need my professional photographer to come out. It's expensive. I mean, it's not that expensive, you know what I mean? Because you spend a little money and you get returned. Same thing with the condo docs. You spend some money and it'll come back,
Well, people have to understand, and I think we're in this crazy market area right now. People are just like feeling this entitlement. I can get $50,000 more for my house. It's not going to cost me anything. I'm not paying for anything. I'm not paying for any of that. It's a little weird right now.
Yeah, and on the contracts. There's 2 contracts in the state of Florida. The one has allowances for repairs and termite, and the other one says as is. And so I think a lot of, as is, as a seller, you say it's as is, buyer's buying it as is. But then when they have an inspection period and they ask for a bunch of stuff, the seller said, well, I sold it as is. I told you I'm selling it as is. I picked their thing. I'm not giving them anything. And even when you go to classes as a realtor, they'll say, well, they purchased it as is. They can't ask for anything, but yet they do ask for everything.
Right.
And so just because you got 15 offers and you have a great buyer doesn't mean they're going to say, the faucet in the bathroom doesn't work. Can you fix it? Or your AC unit is on its last leg. I knew it when I signed this as-is contract, but I want a new AC unit. I mean, that does happen all the time, so unfortunately. But, but I was going to say there's a bunch of investment firms. Again, I won't mention names, but they'll send you cash offers. And a lot of realtors will say, wow, I got this from this, it's 14-day close. and this is the best thing for my client, and it's an investor, and it's just awesome. They're gonna use me, and blah blah blah. So it's intriguing to the realtor because they got cash, and they got both sides. They got the buyer, the seller. The only thing is that buyer, when the home inspection report comes in, they've given you this great offer. It's cash. And then again, they beat you up on the home inspection report. They bought it as is, but they still have this inspection period in there. And then when the inspection period comes in, even though they know they beat everybody, they know that you're, depending on what type of seller you have, some sellers have already spent the money before they got it. So they're like, we're going to close on the 14th. I'm going on vacation on the 15th. I'll be in Hawaii on the 16th. You know what I mean? Yes. So if you're like that, take into consideration, a corporation's purchasing it. They're savvy. They're not, they're going to come back with a repair home inspection list, and I had one, and I didn't want my sellers to take it, but they took it, so, and I said, we can have another, but sometimes they were just like, it's easier just to get rid of it, now, but, 20,000 again, it's going to take another
2 weeks.
Yeah. It's going to, and we got to go back under contract. So maybe it's a month more, but 20,000 for 30 days.
Right.
I think like if you're playing the lottery or you're playing something and they said, you just got to wait 2 more weeks. Would you want 20 grand? And you go, no, I don't want the 20 grand. I want, I want this for less than 20 grand. It doesn't make any sense, but if you go, 30 days, 20 grand, and they go, oh, wow. Okay.
You can have $1 today.
Yeah.
Or
20 grand in 2 weeks. No, give me the $1. I need a pack of gum. Give $1.25. There's tax on it. Yeah. So that, I know it's confusing though when you get, so as a seller's agent, when you get all those contracts and you try to decipher them all and so then you just see cash and you're like, oh, that's clean. That's easiest. Let's go with that. So I understand that. But if they're head to head, I usually, like, how much cash does this one have? Going back to the beginning, but, to consider the conventional mortgages too,
Right.
And then we were talking too, there's a company now that, which is a couple companies and a couple that are trying to, you have a conventional mortgage, but we're going to convert it to cash.
New program, right? It's a new program that a lot of the lenders, well, I don't know if a lot of the lenders, but I'm definitely starting the program as well, where we're backing it. So with cash. So you can go in with a cash offer.
Right.
You go in with a cash offer, and what happens is at the end of the 30-day period, most of the time that's what it takes to close. At the end of the 30-day period, if we're not ready to close on that file for the buyer, we're gonna close on it with cash.
Yeah.
And so it's
Guaranteed.
very safe.
Yeah.
We're trying anything we can. One of the things that I absolutely love about the mortgage firm is that, the 3 owners, first of all, everything's right here in Florida. So we have our underwriting here in Florida, our closing department, our processing, everything is done right here in Florida. And one of the things I love is the 3 owners of the company, they were all originators at one time. So
they know what they're doing.
All of the top people in the company, and the other thing I love about them is most of them are women, believe it or not. But the top people in the company all kind of got together and said, okay, this is a crazy market. Well, how can we help our realtor partners?
Right.
How can we help them win the bids for their clients?
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that they came up with is participating in this program where, we're going to back it up with cash.
Right.
This is so they can go in as a cash deal.
Yeah. So because I haven't done the classes on this yet. I don't know. I'm green on it. I read like a synopsis on it. It's great. Your buyers go in as cash offers. And so then I'm like, how much does it cost my buyer? What if my buyer loses his job in the next 6 months? What if my buyer dies in the next 6 months? Not to,
right.
But I've had all the, like in 16 years, I've seen some stuff, you know what I mean? So I have a lot of questions. So I need to go to that class and see. And I'm sure they have someone just like me who's already, they got all the answers. I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
But I briefly had checked and just basically it had said, your people can do lease backs, stuff like that. So it looked interesting, and it would be great to come in with that cash buyer for everybody. Everybody's a cash buyer now.
No.
Yeah. So then it just come down to numbers, closing dates and contingencies,
How the world is changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
And then next year it could be totally different. They have the realtor, the real estate analyst, and the last 2 years been totally wrong. They're like 4% projected increase. So I was like
20.
That's wrong.
20.
Yeah. I was like, even I knew that one wasn't right, going to be right. You
This
know?
year, 2022, they're saying what? They're saying, I believe, 8 to 11%
Yeah, and then
continual increase.
yeah, and last year, I think they had said the same, 8 to 20. I think it said 8%, but 2 years prior they said 4%, and because it's always
And it went 18.
yeah, it's always 4%. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like that's my
Well,
job.
it used to be, you know.
Yeah. It's like that's my job. I'll just say 4%. You know what I mean? And now it's like you're wrong.
It's funny, you know, we started out talking about some of the statistics and stuff. One of the things that that I was looking at, it was the absorption rate. You know, how quickly, you know, what is a buyer's market, what is a seller's market, and you know, where did it flip? So the absorption rate was, you know, on average, you know, over the last several years, it was a buyer's market, like you said.
Right.
They lower the price of the interest rates and things like that to boost the economy, to get people
Yeah.
to buy houses, things like that. 10 years ago, and it's worked.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, the absorption rate 25%, you know, 22%, 2000 or last year. 2020 was 115%.
Yeah. Like, what are these numbers?
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
we went from a buyer's market to
better.
a seller's market like that.
Yeah. And we were better than the stock market, you know, again,
That's right.
you know.
That's right. You know,
Yeah.
I had somebody that's funny because somebody said to me one time too, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, and I love this line. They said, you know, is now a good time to buy a house? And the response should be, I don't know, is now a good time to open a savings account?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same thing. You're
Yeah.
putting your money from your savings account at, you know, ABC Bank into your real estate savings account.
Yeah.
Because with the price of real estate going up, and it's not a bubble, and it's not going to crash, and it's not going to go down, because
Yeah.
it's not a house of cards this time like it was several years ago. So, you know, this is a better way of saving. I mean,
Right.
look at the return.
Yeah, I know. You need to do it. Exactly.
That people have got, anybody who
Exactly.
bought in just the last year.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And we'll be
Thanks
back.
for having me.
And we'll update you guys again on the market, at the bumpy market. And you guys have a great day. Thanks for joining us.